Hi guys, it's Carlos and Chris here at Ultimate Fitness Training, Jet Fitness, and today we're doing a video on Ask the Trainer show. So, as usual, Chris has got some serious questions for me today, I believe. I do not know what he's going to ask me, so I'm not prepared. So just let's test me, see if I can answer these to the best of my ability. So, over to Chris.
Yeah, so first question I'm going to say, cheat meals. A lot of people always go for cheat meals and things like that. If people need a cheat meal, is there a specific meal that they could go to that sort of almost like a damage control type thing, so it's not going to be too bad, but it'll still be able to give them that little bit of a sort of kick sort of thing? So
yeah, I think cheat meals are very used for people that are on a diet. However, the biggest thing with cheat meals, before I get into the conversation of cheat meals, is it depends whether you mean a cheat meal or a cheat day, because what a lot of people do, they tend to go from a cheat meal to a long cheat day, and that cheat day becomes a long cheat week. Not cheat meals. There is really bad cheat meals and there's really good cheat meals. What I mean by that is I go for calorie content. I'll give you an example. Say for instance, we all know obviously what Nando's is as an example. So that's a cheat meal. Obviously the chicken's got loads of sodium, salt, loads of like condimented sauce, if you like, of which is not great. However, it's not a bad sort of selection of having a cheat meal. Maybe you have some rice, some chips, moderate, obviously, because there's a fine line between having chips and having the whole plate of chips. Also having a bit of rice and having a plate full of rice, and having a bit of bread and having literally 2 or 3 loaves of bread. So there is the levels of obviously having how much. Now there's really bad cheat meals, of which, what I mean by that, like the likes of like large pizzas. A lot of people literally eat a lot of bread. Obviously pizzas, obviously, as you know, contain a lot of bread, a lot of gluten. So those kind of things, you've got to be careful. Now, obviously, if you've been training intensively and you've been dieting rigorously, sometimes a really high caloric cheat meals is really good. What I eat, because obviously what it does is it just gives your metabolism a massive shock. So, and then what it does, it keeps your metabolism guessing. However, it all depends how you're going to do throughout that cheating meal. Now, what I'm going to say is, what I do when I diet rigorously, what I tend to do, I tend to give myself a cheat meal, but I don't go overboard, what I call it overspill. So I tend to go, believe it or not, I tend to go to Nando's, have a chicken, have a bit of rice. Obviously, it just gives your body a bit of a shock from the so-called diet, which is a little bit more bland, really. But just be careful on a high condimented sugaries as well. A lot of people go cheat meal, but then they have cheat pudding as well, and then they carry on one, maybe have a few drinks, and all of a sudden you just consume 3,000, 4,000 calories in one meal, which is a lot. Yeah. So I hope that answers the kind of the question.
Yeah. So next one I've gone to, a lot of people, like myself included, when the diet's bad, sleep issues, have a lot of issues like that. So how does a good diet positively affect sleep patterns?
Massive. That's a really good question. A lot of people don't understand the concept between mental health and diet. They are very, very much related. And then that has then a knock-on effect on how you basically behave in a day, and also on how you sleep. Now, obviously, I don't know if you guys probably heard of this, but melatonin is basically responsible for the sleeping and awakening cycles. Now, a lot of these foods that you guys see out there, you go into a supermarket, a lot of foods are completely condimented with drugs, okay? When I say a lot of them, most of them, okay? If you guys look at food scientists, they will, obviously if you go on the internet, you can Google it, and you'll see a lot of studies shows that a lot of these foods are packed with drugs. So if they're packed with drugs, they're packed with things that are going to make you very erratic. Okay, now if it makes you very erratic in the day, it makes you very erratic in the evening, especially high sugary foods, high caffeine drinks, highly processed foods, which have a knock-on effect on your brain. So what it then does is, because it has a high effect on your brain, it keeps you, if you like, in a state of alertness. And this obviously then has a massive knock-on effect on how you sleep. What you find is like, and I'm not just saying this because I think, or because I studied. I tell you, it's because I studied, I think, and I've experienced it myself. What you find is when you have a cleaner diet, what you tend to find is you become a lot more sort of, if you like, cleansed. So your digestion system's better, I give you an example, it sounds quite gross, for instance, but you burp less, you back swing less, you sleep better, you feel better, and not only that is you're sleeping in awakened cycles a lot better. Now that then has a massive knock-on effect as well on how you live your life as well. Obviously, if you're stressed, if you have bad food and you're stressed out and you're constantly running about, that has gone out. Your anxiety level is going to be through the roof. But that has a correlation, sort of connection between diet, lifestyle, and sleeping is massive. But I definitely would say, if you want to sleep better, that's one of the things I would definitely always recommend to my clients, of which I do myself, is obviously meditation. That's one of the things that really important. The other thing is obviously avoid caffeine drinks. Caffeine is a massive drug, so it's bad for you. Don't let anyone tell you caffeine is great. Caffeine's not good at all. Now a lot of us, if you think about it, even like sugary drinks got caffeine in it. A lot of sugary drinks got a lot of caffeine. Like, I don't get me wrong, I used to do it myself. I mean, going back probably about 5 years ago, I used to probably have about 2 to 3, sometimes 4 to 5 on a weekend, depending. Red Bulls. I know it sounds really bad, but I used to absolutely be addicted to Red Bulls. And what it is, because then your body and your brain gets addicted to that feeling, it becomes a norm. If you've got a couple of Red Bulls, not going to hurt you, but they are full of bad things inside. So I wouldn't advise. But it's a really good question. It's something I'd like to do a video about. Obviously, sleeping in awakened cycles, and now obviously diet affects that particular thing.
Yeah. So next one I'll go on to. So when you're touching on like the mental health issues and stuff. So when people feel like they're suffering from anxiety or depression, those sort of things, they'll go to the doctors. The first thing the doctor will do is prescribe them with antidepressants, and that's it. Doctor doesn't say go to the gym more and change your lifestyle out. So in your opinion, can that be counteracted by a healthier and active lifestyle rather than just taking pills that you get prescribed?
Absolutely. Obviously, in this video, obviously, I'm not giving you here medical advice. What it is, obviously, I've got a degree and a master's degree in sports science. I'm well qualified in our field. I also got a degree in psychology. However, I can tell you from personal experience and from what I studied, and also obviously from all the years of helping people become their greatest version, what it is, there's a massive relation here. And I mean, I actually deeply studied this. And now, depression is a massive thing, okay? And there's very levels of depression. Now, a lot of people probably don't understand this because they probably think, oh, depressed, what's the matter with you? Now, people don't understand it. You only understand depression when you have depression, okay? Now, it's like me saying, oh, someone's got diabetes, stop having diabetes.
Yeah.
No, it's not, oh, you've got cancer, stop having cancer. You can't do that, can you? It's not a choice. Now, when depression starts, it comes from anywhere. It could come from the fact that you lost a loved one 10 years ago. It has a knock-on effect, believe it or not. Now, if you study psychology, you'll know what I'm talking about. For the person that probably just heard that, you think that's a lot of crap, but it has knock-on effect. Now, we all get, if you like, affected in a lot of different ways. And what I mean by that is obviously sometimes we've got childhood traumas, our lifestyles, our pressures, even sometimes we get bored of life, like in terms of like, we've got a boring job, maybe you go to work and it's boring, and then maybe you go home and it's boring, and it comes to a point you think, is this it? And what happens is when it begins to be a really boring pattern, we human beings become really bored. And what this then tends to happen is when stress comes, that puts a lot of pressure on our brains, on our bodies. Now imagine someone that doesn't train, our body becomes very, if you like, unconditioned. And then that has a knock-on effect. Okay, our bodies were born to fight for survival. So our bodies were made to exercise every single day. So imagine we become very sedentary lifestyles. So that has a knock-on effect on our mental health. So what happens is this, our mental health becomes very deteriorated, and this comes in the form of all sorts of behavior. Some people become very aggressive, some people become very sad, some people become very, extrovert, they start doing crazy things. And these, believe it or not, obviously you guys probably heard on the news, a lot of doctors can't control this because it's an epidemic. Loads of people this mental health, because it's not something that you see. So if Chris broke his arm or I broke my arm, you could see it, okay? And you can fix it, okay? But with the mental, with mind, it's very difficult, you can't see it. So it's very, very a grey area, if you like, to a degree. Even doctors say a lot of times they don't quite know. They prescribe a pill here and a pill there because they quite don't know. Now, to answer this question in relation to what we was actually asking about the pills and everything else, there's two types of depression. There's a clinical depression, of which your serotonin levels go to a minimum. So once your serotonin levels go to a very minimum amount, what I mean by that is serotonin is basically what actually regulates your mood, basically, being happy, being sad. Now, if your serotonin levels are very low, whether you like it or not, you could be the most richest person in the world, you could have everything you won't be happy, and that's being proved. Now, that's why a lot of people don't understand. They think, oh, you've got all these things, why aren't you happy? Okay, it's because your serotonin levels are very low. So this needs, believe it or not, and a lot of people don't believe in pills, and I don't particularly say that I believe or don't believe, but without a help of a bit of a drug, sometimes it's very hard to get these, if you call serotonin levels up. Okay, so sometimes these drugs, believe it or not, when I say sometimes, it depends on a person as well, and also on your diet, on your training, on your daily lifestyle. Lifestyle is massive. These levels sometimes can go up a little bit easier with the help of certain drugs, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, is because a lot of people think, oh, I don't need anything at all, I just need to do this, because it depends on a person. Really, some people work fantastic with the pills, some people work brilliant with diet, some people do it with both. Okay, so you've got to be very, very careful, and sometimes I would say do your research and make sure you understand it first, because if you don't understand it, sometimes you can be labeled a particular condition without actually realizing. Believe it or not, if someone had depression and knows what depression is, they would have a completely different opinion. It's the people that do not have depression or had depression. Why is it, oh yeah, you don't need anything, you just do whatever. Okay. Now, one of the biggest things I advise to do, of which then goes to more linked to what Chris kind of asked, is does the gym helps massively? I would say definitely 100%. I've had many clients that I have had depression, and I still have depression, and they find once they come to the gym, once they have a better sort of, if you like, positive side to themselves, and also start looking at changing my physique, they're feeling better, because once they train, they feel better, because they're good feel hormone, everything's always flowing. They feel better, they look better, and the depression kind of all of a sudden evaporates. Not something that's going to come to the gym once and it goes. It's if you like, it's a longer term thing. But I definitely advise, before you start taking anything, start going to the gym, start exercising, start feeling better by yourself, and you'll see that depression will go eventually. It will take a while.
I'm happy with that.
Cool. So here we are, another video with Chris and I. Thank you very much for watching the video. Make sure you check out our Instagram, which is Carlos Trainer 10. Also, Chris has got an information here for Jets. Tell us what Jets are.
Jets Erdington on Instagram and Facebook, Jets Erdington. So training videos, workout of the days, challenges, a little bit of everything. So yeah, pop onto that as well.
It's absolutely fantastic. So what we've got here, we've got basically a very nice gym in the middle of Erdington. Obviously, we are basically here to help you guys become your greatest versions. So check out our YouTube channel, which is Carlos Trainer as well. And with all that said, on behalf of Chris and I, stay happy, stay healthy, stay fit. Take care. Bye bye.